On the roof of the world, a river gives life to millions from Tibet to India. Now reports of a Chinese mega dam costing over $80 billion threaten to upend that balance, with water and power used as new weapons in a silent rivalry. What really happens when your greatest neighbor controls your lifeline upstream? The answer could reshape South Asia forever. The Brahmaputra begins its journey high in the icy wilds of Tibet, known there as the Yarlung Tsangpo. Over thousands of kilometers, it carves through some of the world's deepest canyons and steepest valleys, gathering force with every twist and tributary. By the time it reaches the floodplains of Assam, the river is a living artery, wide, restless, and powerful. Its waters sustain more than 50 million people across India and Bangladesh. For farmers in Assam, the river is both a provider and a threat. Each year, the Brahmaputra's seasonal floods deposit fresh layers of silt, renewing soil that feeds rice paddies, tea estates, and vegetable fields. In the dry months, its channels supply drinking water and keep wells from running dry. Fishermen rise before dawn to cast their nets, relying on the river's bounty for their daily catch. Children learn to swim in its muddy shallows, while elders gather on its banks for festivals and prayers. The river's rhythm shapes daily life, marking the seasons and sustaining traditions that stretch back generations. But this lifeline is fragile. Even small changes in its flow or sediment can ripple downstream, affecting harvests, drinking water, and the delicate balance of the floodplain ecosystem. For the people of Assam, the Brahmaputra is more than water. It is survival, culture, and hope for the future, all bound to the fate of a river whose source lies far beyond their reach. Along the upper Brahmaputra, the river's path is shadowed by lines on a map that have never been fully agreed upon. China claims Arunachal Pradesh as part of South Tibet, while India insists it is an integral part of the nation. That dispute has simmered for decades and colors every conversation about the river's future. When it comes to sharing water, the legal ground is just as shaky. There is no formal treaty between India and China governing the Brahmaputra's flow. China has never signed the 1997 United Nations Watercourses Convention, which sets out rules for sharing trans-boundary rivers and requires upstream countries to notify and consult with those downstream about major projects. Instead, the two sides rely on a patchwork of diplomatic exchanges and technical meetings. The most significant of these, the expert-level mechanism, established in 2006, was designed only to share flood season data, river levels, rainfall, and discharge readings from a handful of Chinese monitoring stations. It does not cover dam construction, environmental impact, or long-term water management. During times of tension, even this limited cooperation can break down. In 2017, at the height of the Doklam border standoff, China suspended data sharing, leaving Indian officials in the dark as floods swept through Assam. The mechanism resumed only after years of negotiation, but its scope remains narrow, offering little leverage for real transparency. Without binding agreements or enforceable rules, each new dam or diversion upstream becomes a source of anxiety downstream. The absence of robust legal safeguards means that control of the river can shift from a matter of engineering to one of power and trust, or the lack of it. On July 19th, 2025, the ground broke in Medog County, Tibet, for a project unlike any the region has seen. It is the Medog Hydropower Station, developed by Power Construction Corporation of China, Power China. This mega dam is designed to harness the raw power of the Yarlung Sangpo at its most dramatic bend. The numbers alone are staggering. With an installed capacity of 60,000 megawatts, the dam is set to generate 300 billion kilowatt hours of electricity each year, 3 times the output of the Three Gorges Dam, and nearly 30 times that of Hoover Dam. The planned cost exceeds 1 trillion yuan, or roughly 137 billion to 168 billion US dollars, making it one of the most expensive infrastructure projects ever attempted. Engineers are tasked with carving 4 tunnels, each stretching about 20 kilometers through some of the world's most unstable geology. These tunnels will divert a large share of the river's flow through a series of 5 underground power stations, exploiting a 2,000-meter drop in elevation over just 50 kilometers. The design relies on a high-head diversion system rather than a single vast reservoir, aiming for daily and short-term regulation of water, not long-term storage. Still, the scale of hydraulic control is immense, with each intake, tunnel, and turbine built to withstand both the river's force and the region's notorious seismic activity. The official timeline calls for commercial operation by 2033. In the meantime, construction crews are racing to open access roads, excavate tunnel portals, and lay the groundwork for what Chinese officials describe as a project of the century. Power China's leadership frames the dam as a cornerstone of national clean energy goals and economic development for Tibet. But the magnitude of the venture and its location at the edge of the Himalayas means that every step forward is watched closely, both at home and across the border. In Beijing, officials present the Medog hydropower station as a triumph of engineering and a cornerstone of China's carbon-neutral future. They highlight the promise of 300 billion kilowatt hours of clean electricity each year, enough to power entire provinces and cut millions of tons of carbon emissions. The project, they insist, is designed as a run-of-the-river cascade, not a giant reservoir that would choke off the Brahmaputra. State media and Power China say the dam's daily and short-term regulation will smooth out natural swings in the river's flow, reducing the risk of catastrophic floods for communities downstream. Across the border, Indian officials and water analysts question those reassurances. Their chief concern is not just the concrete and turbines, but the silence. China has not released a full environmental impact assessment or detailed operational plans. With no binding treaty and only limited flood season data shared through the expert-level mechanism, India's Ministry of External Affairs warns that real-time decisions on water releases remain hidden from scrutiny. Past suspensions of data sharing have left Assam and Arunachal Pradesh exposed during critical floods, fueling suspicions that the Medog project could be used to manipulate flows in times of tension. Neutral hydrologists add another layer to the debate. Some argue that while the dam's physical design may not allow for permanent diversion, the true wildcard is climate change. Melting glaciers and unpredictable monsoons could drive greater swings in river flow than any single dam. They caution that the region's future may hinge less on engineering and more on the willingness of both countries to share data and act transparently, especially as the river grows more volatile in a warming world. Control of the Brahmaputra's headwaters has become a powerful bargaining chip in Asia's most volatile rivalry. With the Medog hydropower station underway, China now holds the means to influence water flows that millions in India and Bangladesh depend on. In New Delhi, policymakers warn that upstream regulation could be used as leverage during border standoffs or diplomatic crises. The memory of 2017, when China suspended flood data sharing at the height of a military standoff, still shapes Indian fears. Experts describe a new kind of arms race, not with missiles, but with dams and data. Each side accelerates its own river projects, wary that control over water could tip the balance in future negotiations. As the river winds through disputed territory, its flow becomes entangled with questions of sovereignty, security, and the uneasy calculus of deterrence. In this high-stakes contest, water is no longer just a resource. It is a tool of power. The Medog Dam is not just a local controversy. It sets a new global precedent for how upstream nations can shape the fate of entire river systems. Hydrological models suggest that if the dam is operated for maximum power generation, dry season flows into India could drop by 5 to 15%, enough to stress farms and wetlands when water is most scarce. Downstream communities would feel the pinch in irrigation, fisheries, and drinking water supplies. These risks extend beyond the Brahmaputra. China's approach in Tibet is already being watched by neighbors along the Mekong and Salween, where similar projects could reshape river basins that support tens of millions of people across Southeast Asia. Without binding rules or shared oversight, each new megadam on a transboundary river raises the question of who controls access to water when it matters most. In a warming world, that question is only growing sharper. Today, over 100 million lives depend on the Brahmaputra's flow. Yet its fate now hinges on decisions made far upstream. As megaprojects reshape Asia's rivers, water becomes leverage. In a warming world, control of the source isn't just power, it's destiny. What would you do with that power?